So today we're going to be turning this into this, the Zega Mame Gear. I'm Charlie and welcome to my little workshop. So the Zega Mame Gear is a Raspberry Pi based emulation handheld kit that I stumbled across on Etsy, and I thought it'd be loads of fun to build. So it's based around the Raspberry Pi 02W. It should be powerful enough to play pretty much anything from the 16-bit era, and I'm going to wrap it in this amazing shell that I picked up from Retro 6, along with some lovely electric blue buttons that I bought from Z Labs. It will certainly turn some heads in the era of identikit tablets. So I think that's enough. Let's just jump straight into the build and have some fun. I'll see you in a sec. I've bought the unsoldered kit, but you can buy this soldered if you want to. But I thought it'd be more fun to actually take this box of bits and all these bits of gubbins and solder them together myself. So I think we'll crack straight on. So I'm going to start with the soundboard. So I've added the volume wheel here. I'm going to flux it up, and I'm just adding a bit of solder here just to pin it in place. And then I'm going to go over and just solder all the joints properly. I'm not going to worry about showing every single time I flux something. It's very repetitive. So whenever I do some soldering, you can assume I've fluxed it up. I probably will flux it up, to be honest. But anyway, let's stick in the headphone jack. And again, we can go over, add solder to all the joints. Now we're done that, we'll just give it a little clean, get rid of all the old flux. Oh, I missed one. Let's just do that now. Now we can attach the connection for the speaker. And this is the connection that will connect the soundboard up to the main motherboard. Now let's turn our attention to the power board. We're going to do these two battery connections. The power connection, we'll start with that, I think. So we'll pop that in and solder it in place. Just going to tack it in first, and then I'm going to go over all the other joints. Give it a little clean. Yep, nice and shiny joints there. But now let's do the battery connections. Again, I'm just going to hold that and tack it in place. Just putting a bit of solder on my iron and bringing it over. Do the same for the second one. You can actually run this on either one or two batteries, but yeah, I'm going to connect it up to two batteries. Just give it a little clean. Now we can do the power switch. I'm just going to use a little bit of Kapton tape actually to help hold this in place. Now we'll add some solder. Again, it's already pre-fluxed. Go over the other joints. Cool, not too bad. Let's remove the tape, and now we can move on to the main motherboard. So I'm going to just put in the audio connection here. This will take audio from the audio board back to the motherboard. So we're going to add solder to these pins here. Do that now. Oh, I think I'm going to bridge these connections. Yeah, I'll come back to that in a second. A bit of solder wick to take up some of that excess solder. Cool, there we go. They're not bridged anymore. It's not the tidiest, but they're not bridged. Now we can add the power connector. So this will connect us up to the main power board that we just soldered up. Ooh. There we go. Now I'm just going to add the wires to this speaker. And now I think I'm going to turn my attention to the screen. So I'm just going to line up this ribbon cable here. And I've changed the tip of my soldering iron to a chisel tip, and I'm going to just try and pin this in place before I go too far. Just did put a little bit of solder on the other side. Now I'm just going to drag it over the joints. I'm going to grab some more solder in a second. Let's go back over this again. Not sure if this is the best method to do it. Maybe you could let me know in the comments if there's a better method for soldering on a ribbon cable like this. But I'm not exactly an expert solderer. It seems to be going all right. Gonna add a little bit more flux, I think. Just give it one more pass over. So I've just added a bit more solder to my tip, and here we go. Just take a little bit more time over this last pass. Try not to burn my fingers. I'm pretty sure that's looking good. Yeah, there's no bridged pins, so let's move on. We can start actually putting all the bits into the shell now. This is the soundboard. This switch doesn't actually fit. Don't know if it's because it's aftermarket, but I essentially have had to take a Dremel to it, and then I was able to get it to fit quite snugly on. It's a bit of a pain in the butt, to be honest. But anyway, it's done. Let's get that put in. Yeah, and the switch seems to be working okay. Now we can start adding in all the other ribbon cables. So this is for the extension for the SD card. This is the extender for the USB. And we're going to just put that into where the memory card slot would have been. So I'm just going to take out this shielding. And in its place, we'll put the extension board. This makes it much easier for changing your SD card with your OS and games on it. All right, let's put the sticky pads on the screen to hold that in place. You want to try and make sure it lines up well with the lines that are printed on the board. Otherwise you're going to have a wonky screen. We don't want a wonky screen, do we? That's looking pretty good to me. Right, let's just pop in the HDMI extender. So this will connect up the HDMI on the motherboard to the HDMI port on the Raspberry Pi. So I think now we can just put the Raspberry Pi in place. This is the 02W. Can be plenty powerful enough for running 16-bit games, which is all we're going to be using this handheld for. And these batteries should just slot into the battery compartments. I've kept the springs in, but I'm not sure if we really needed to, but the springs did help give a bit more tension. On this side, I've actually removed one of the sets of springs, and I'm feeding the power cable through the slot that was left where it fitted, so I don't have to do any extra drilling. It's quite snug, but it did go eventually. The battery cover back on. Right, let's connect up all these wires. So the speaker, power terminals, the batteries, and this is the extender for the other battery. Connects that in there. Now we can turn our attention to the buttons. So just going to slot on this drill guide. And now I'm going to drill through these points here, so wish me luck. There we go, we've got our pilot holes, and I actually think I should have removed this guide here for this bit, but I didn't, but luckily it all seems to be okay, because you actually want to leave that on for when you're putting in your new buttons. Anyway, I just used a bit of wet and dry sandpaper here to tidy up the drill holes. I think they actually recommend you use a stepped drill bit, but I didn't have one, so I just made do with what I had. Anyway, now we can remove the screen protector, and I'm going to put all this, start building up the outer shell. So there's the outside screen. It's quite satisfying seeing it all coming together now. Going to pop in all the buttons. D-pad, and then we want to put all the membranes in as well. Let's slide the speaker in place. You want to put it on the opposite side to the buttons, because it won't fit on that side anymore. So it sits just under the D-pad, and there's just this retaining bracket, but weirdly you couldn't put a third screw in, but it all seemed to be okay. Anyway, let's slide in the main motherboard now, and we can screw that in place. So now I'm just going to plug in the USB extender and some of the other connectors that connect the daughter boards to the main motherboard. They're pretty well labelled, so it shouldn't be too tricky to work out which one goes where. But this is for the SD card extender. This is just a little adapter. This will plug into your Raspberry Pi. Sorry about the view, it wasn't very easy to get a good view of that. But now we can start to put the shell on. So we're almost there, and we're almost ready to turn this thing on. So we've got the shell in place, and I'm just going to whack a few screws in to hold it in. So cue montage of screwing. Don't forget the 2 screws that are hidden in the battery compartment. I did at first. Now we can use Raspberry Pi Imager to install the OS onto the memory card. So we've got a custom OS installed, so I'm going to go down to use custom, and I'm going to select the ISO. There we go. Select the USB device it's on, so you want to make sure you select your Mame Gear, and then we can write the image onto the SD card. This can take a few minutes, so I've sped it up. Just go off and have a cup of tea, come back when it's done. And we're done. Let's make sure it all works now. Yes, and we've got games. Let's have a little scroll through. I've loaded some of my ROMs on already. So let's have a quick look at Super Mario World, I think. Scroll down. And there we go. And there we have it. We've built the Zega Mame Gear, all wrapped up in this gorgeous shell from Retro 6 with these amazing electric blue buttons from Z Labs. It's a handheld emulation machine that could have come straight out of the 1990s. And what started as a pile of bits in a box is now a fully portable retro gaming machine that you can load up with your own legally owned backed up game collection. And it's all wrapped up in the most iconic of handheld designs from the 90s, the Game Gear. And for me, was it worth it? Do you know what? I think it was. I mean, I could have bought a retro emulation handheld. It would probably have had better performance for the same price, probably have bigger screen and more storage. But you know what? Where would the fun have been in that? For me, this project was about the journey. It was building something with personality and some nostalgic vibes. Something that I can say, yeah, I made that. And if you enjoyed this build, let me know in the comments. And I'd like to know if there's anything you would have done differently. Also, if you want to see more restoration projects, more mods, retro-inspired builds, then this is the place to be. I've got more future projects coming up, like some Dreamcast videos, putting in a GDMU, and a stealth rebuild of a Game Boy. Hit that subscribe button, hit notifications, and hopefully I'll see you next time. But this is Charlie, signing out. Take care and goodbye.